the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. Today in the program, we get two civil society activists them as they continue with the discussion we'll start yesterday on the 2022 public elections bill where they now in Parliament. Well, if people can remember the 2012 public elections bill, now the one where the Electoral Commission of Salone don't they use for conduct public elections them. And this bill they begin for using from 2012 and it don't take 10 years now. But this being term, the government of Salone through the Attorney General in office been cargo this bill na Parliament for let them go amend some certain section then they inside this bill we make them call now the proposed 2022 Public Elections Act. Well, for more than go in Parliament to now, many conversations and they around this bill. Today we get Lawyer Rashid Dumbuya, when the executive director for Legal Link. Legal Link, this be intended to write letter to the Speaker of Parliament, who said them they ask and say if I put on hold the proceeding them on the 2022 Public Elections Act because them believe say this bill gets tin them way for make member of Parliament them engage on a nationwide consultation, public education, and safe them for allow civil society them for make their own inputs on this particular bill where they before member of Parliament them. And inside the same letter where Legal Link been write to the Speaker, it be list several things them where Lawyer Rashid Dumbuya go can tell the public. Good morning one more time, Mr. Dumbuya, and welcome again to the program. Good morning, Salone.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I'm grateful.
All right, as I stated in the intro, I just read, Legal Link been list several things that we get for do with the proposed 2022 Public Elections Act. We make una ask the Speaker for put on hold the proceedings, let member of Parliament and not begin for debate it because una believe say so many things then they wait for be happen before this bill even reach na Parliament. Just start for tell listeners them waiting at the concern of Legal Link who they talk about the proposed 2022 Public Elections Act.
Yes, thank you one more time, and this now how it will be. 90.1 always the give we good surprises. When government stakeholders they don't come, parliamentarians they don't come, the next people for calling as civil societies them, let them also give them contribution towards this process. And we happy as an organization where they try for defend the rights of vulnerable groups and also help in legislative making. For men, I give this platform today. Yes, when we look back, in fact, what happened yesterday in the Parliament or the day before yesterday as well, I think it really unfortunate because we, like say, God, we don't put on our heart. We prior to all them things that happen, we write to the Speaker and we call it in attention, say make he put this whole proceedings on hold and make the public participate, make experts them participate, make civil society them participate, make the bar association, organization that we get expertise in legislation, in terms of the law, and also in looking at critical issues, the pros and the cons. That I made the call of the letter. Say we know hearing much about this bill, and we don't get a kind of relationship now way good with Parliament. I remember when they passed the abolition death penalty law, when they pass Cyber Security Act, then stop the process, then call we for right papers them, position papers them, for contribute to this discussion. And we illegally may write a very thorough paper with they all glad for, and they even call we name at the well of Parliament, and thank we for that day. So we look forward to also this for happen in this bill, because this bill very loaded, and it gets so many constitutional provisions them inside a legislative bill. So it not only loaded, it gets so much problems and error we don't see so far. So for let you deprive the public, for let you deprive expert opinions, for let you deprive CSOs them, for let you deprive women groups, for let you deprive election management bodies, for let you deprive legal experts, the bar association, for carry papers them on this whole electoral bill, which is so key to a democracy, to election process, to a fundamental rights. Really unfortunate, and I make we see the problem until they happen at Parliament, because instead of engaging with this bill in a very much more broader consensus and constitutive process, then they hide the things. And what we don't do now, Legal Link, we don't study the bill. And today I there for tell you that some of the things that we need to building and the dangers them we go cause if we allow that bill to go through. And so that's our work, and we are coming to do this in good faith for help with country and help with nation for let we get her right.
So as you say, I don't study the bill.
Yes.
For legal link, I think say the contents of this bill, in as much as we go go into it later, but at this stage, is it timely for let's such bill them then at parliament, for let the members of parliament decide whether or not it will become law?
Yes, so nothing not me wrong for make them carry with a new bill on the Public Election Act if they think some provisions them in the former law, I mean the 2012 Act way perhaps problematic or way perhaps they get new things they were introduced. But the problem starts with an attempt for put constitutional issues them inside a bill, a legislative bill. That's where the problem begin. And try for now hide that inside it and pass them all as if you don't amend the constitution. When we talk for the constitutional issue, we have to be very careful because this is not the documents where they guide we all. Now the primus inter pares, now the ground norm. If we can't amend them, we not for hide anything. We will come with a constitutional instrument and we appeal to everybody for see sense in what you want to do. Because you need a 2/3 majority for pass standing. And the public for no. Because this is now a baby. Now the document is where they govern we see us for put them out today. Everybody will put them out today because you want to touch the law where they govern the entire society. You therefore appeal to everyone and everyone will be convinced, say yes, this is important to we all, and then let Parliament go through the process in the legitimate way. But this is not what's happening.
You say the AG in office, they hide certain things them na this particular bill, and according to you, if members of Parliament they allow this bill for amend them and then begin for use them, it could be very dangerous for the country. But another school of thought go say people and sending members of Parliament them for represent them so that their voice them go be heard in Parliament. So if members of Parliament then they how come then go sit down, then pass a law where according to you dangerous for the country?
No, I think we see the whole fight that happened between opposition and the ruling government. And so they say, let we put the country first at this time. So nothing no wrong for letting carry with an amendment on certain issues them in the Public Elections Act, where perhaps and things say problematic. Nothing no wrong. So to me, let me say, waiting I made the problem for let you mix constitutional issues and also legislative issues on a law where now they take effect if you have to amend that. That's the approach me really, really bad. I think that the problem starts all. So if then pull their constitutional issues then they and perhaps make a case for them one day where they think say fall within the Public Election Act of 2012, perhaps now they go change minds and hearts. But for now, for go package all things together and you have for pass standing and now say you don't amend even the provisions of the Constitution, that will be a travesty. And me, also, Lawyer Rashid, will speak loud because I want to let the history judge me tomorrow and say, yes, me now, by law, the way to say this is wrong and it ought not to be so. Because it will spoil the Constitution and it will lay a bad precedent tomorrow. We will make the Constitution not go get any value anymore. Any government come tomorrow and we have to change the Constitution and la law, it is just the pass, amend that through that law, and then you change the Constitution. That will be a bad precedent for our nation.
So, Rashid, before we come to and we'll evaluate our other studio guests on this particular bill we talk about. Now, waiting you don't see inside the bill we scary, we make legal link concern for the public way something not get any access yet for no waiting the inside it.
Good, awesome. Now, make I just list like 2 or 3 first, then maybe I will give me brother also some time. Now, when you look at the first thing where we notice in this bill, we realize that the president wants to get power for remove the NEC commissioners for gross misconduct. That is a constitutional provision under section 32(8). Already the president get power under section 32(8) for remove the commissioners and the grounds and the. Now, if you want to out a new ground, you get for come with a constitutional instrument for amend 32(8). That's what you do. You don't come with a bill, a publication bill, and put it inside it. That is wrong. Secondly, allowing holders of dual citizenship to be qualified to be voted for as members of Parliament. All right, now a constitutional issue as well. 76(1). So if you want for amendment, they not to a bad thing per se, because a progressive thinking say, look, okay, why for stop them for participate at the very least as parliamentarians? You can come with a constitutional instrument to amend that. That's what we are saying. And see if you read the numbers and convince everyone. Already the courts don't talk something about this. All right. The third one, increasing the number of NEC commissioners from 4 to 5 to represent the 5 regions in Sierra Leone. Now, let's say if it's on the face of it now, a sensible thing. But then why you want to put it inside the public elections bill? Count a constitutional instrument, because already section 32(2) of the constitution tell you the composition of NEC. So you see the issue then where we talk about now. Then of course change from constituency elections to proportional representation. 38(1) tell we about the route way for use for do with parliamentary elections. So these are all the conflicts. They make this bill here so dangerous because you put so many constitutional issues into a bill and try for amendment without coming to parliament with a constitutional instrument specifically addressing all of these constitutional issues. That is the anomaly and that is the irregularity we will point out.
Continue for the week the program. In case you just tune in, the program na Good Morning Salone, and you be listen to Rashid Dumbuya, when the executive director for Legal Link. Today na the program we will continue for look inside the proposed 2022 public elections bill where they now before member of parliament them, and lawyer Rashid be the end that in talk there with some of the concern them where Legal Link get for sake of this proposed bill where they now in parliament.
The program Good Morning Salone they continue, and as another listen from one of we studio guests them, when a lawyer Rashid Dumbuya, we can out to the other studio guest, when Andrew Lavali, the executive director for Institute for Governance Reform, IGR, we don't get at the studio time to time. They discuss on different issues them we don't they take up on for take a national development. Well, today we look at the 2022 public elections bill, and we don't listen to the fears them where Legal Link gets as an institution and their own position as to why they're concerned about this 2022 Public Elections Act. So same one for the Institute for Governance Reform. Let me just start first, share with listeners them what's now on our own view and take on the 2022 public elections bill, where they now in a parliament before the members of parliament.
Thank you very much. I think I largely share Rashid in view. Anything we not procedural, we not for encourage and power laws and the processes. You know, fine law will set a precedent. We allow any government set a precedent, we're not good. I think the beauty of waiting they happen, like first time we didn't say for discuss electoral rules and electoral processes. Now political parties they no more. They do sit down, then decide. But we now have a situation where say the public they actually take part. In fact, now that make where Radio Democracy organizes program, it will actually enrich the conversation. Citizens from outside will they inform what's in the happen at Parliament. Rashid talked quite a lot about procedural issues. I mean, he's a lawyer. I need to go down that path. But just for associate myself with Invoice, if at all there are procedural problems, we need to address those procedural problems and move on as a country. Today we celebrate Radio Democracy, the 25th anniversary. And Radio Democracy, they actually follow the journey of Sierra Leone in democracy building and the challenges we face. I remember a time like this, where they established that radio station. We'd not be there at peace. And we see say some of all of them concerns and they will be make, we are young, we they under bed, then they fire. If we not take time, those things will come back. Those habits, then they set in. We they get a situation where say, we one regime they in power, it marginalize our group, another regime they in power, it marginalize our group. All of that embedded in this constitutional instrument as to how we go find time for law addresser. Now that make the bill is so important that we not for flout any procedure for let make sure say the promise then within the inside the bill. Like for example, how you Google talk say for let somebody resign from imposition, it get for for if somebody civil servants want join politics, it get for wait for 1 year. The bill progressive it talks law let we stop that one day. But waiting fambule for no me really get for look into the content and I want to talk about one sticky issue, the biggest sticky issue in the PR system. But all of the provisions in. We see say some weeks ago, Parliament, APC, SLPP side, they all two agree for raise their welfare bill. So where is something they in their interest, then they agree. But where something they in part of them political interest, then they disagree. I think say as we discuss this bill, if finally citizens then, whether they support APC, they support SLPP, give yourself a break. Let you say, what's in my interest as a country? Now that make I take Rashid in point where he say we actually need bigger public engagement on the bill. We're not for just say we do what you want for do, but we have to get bigger public interest on the bill.
Mr. Lavalley, this particular proposed bill we discussed this morning, it gets several issues them we get for do for let Salone reach to the standards of international best practices we compare elections. So if the nation gets it wrong now for make the law that we go make we get free, fair and credible elections. And when you look at IGR, now one of the institutions we don't they talk about reforms, good governance and everything. The input of una civil society and self-public education, now one way very important in such critical bills like this. You think say the member of parliament really don't try for do consultation and public education on this bill?
Well, some consultation on the take place because they see some people in. Then they go and they see something in a WhatsApp. But normally, the parliamentarian, they not to consult and they consult. Then they go ram their position on people and truth. Say, now this me don't. And if fine at this point, law actually discuss the political party then strategy then. You see, say, Rashid, excuse me. So you get 35 of the Constitution. We clearly talk about the nature and the character of political parties. It talks, say, for let you form a political party, the powers we give PPRC. It's a political party for get office in all of the regions. It's a political party if for base on regions. But we don't reach a point where all this hate where they see, where you go on social media, you see Sierra Leone and they attack themselves. Because political parties then they get one region focus. Where we start in 1996, the better way we remind you about 98.1. We don't do 5 elections. 2 of those elections, they happen under public PR system. 3 of the elections, they happen under first past the post. Waiting a PR system, for people who don't know, PR system is a situation where say 3 candidates, and for example, they contest election. One gets 60%, the other one gets 30%, the other one gets 10%. The PR system, they say, nobody know for loss. You will get 60%, they go from 60% government. You will get 30%, they go from 30%. You will get 10%, you go 10%. Under Tijan Kabat, in fact, we publish a report today. If you see the results then, we publish a detailed report on this today. If you see the results, UNPP and SLPP, UNPP get 35.8%, SLPP get 35.8%, it get 27 seats. UNPP gets 21 seats, 17 seats. Where then they distribute the seats is so proportionate to the size of the vote. So, but we don't reach a situation where we'll switch to the first past the post. 23% of members of parliament, now where they sit on right now, they not get 50% of the result of the vote.
Let's just solid quickly. We go come back to you, Andrew Lavalley. We go for can explain to listeners them on Altuna the studio. Go for can tell them the PR system, whether I get advantage or disadvantage if implemented this time because we head to elections in 2023. We can talk about that later in the program and I continue for the week.
Good morning, Salone. Where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. Where they bring the program come to you this Thursday morning. My name is Khadija Bango.
And Mabel Kaba.
We still get Lawyer Rashid Dumbuya at the studio, the executive director for Legal Link. We talk about the position we get for do with the 2022 public elections bill within our parliament as Legal Link they call on the speaker for put on hold on the proceedings we get for do with this particular bill. Earlier, Lawyer Rashid they outlined some of the issues them where Legal Link gets with this particular proposed elections bill within now before member them now parliament. And you start for highlight some of the issues them where Legal Link get. One of the issues them that you all get for do with the NCRA National Identification Number. What are the issues where Legal Link get with this particular section of the bill?
So now I want to tell you first on the procedural irregularities. All right, the mix up and box up where they happen at the moment in terms of bringing in constitutional issues into a legislative bill. The process irregular and that has to be looked into. You cannot amend a constitution by a legislative bill. you come with a constitutional amendment instrument. Now, what are the other concerns then where we get, or the other issue that will stand out in this Public Election Act, apart from the constitutional issues? All right, where perhaps also we need for talk about and we need the public for understand. Now, in the Public Elections Act bill when they propose, then also they try to introduce something they call NIN, National Identification Number, as a requirement for NEC voter registration. All right, Section 13 make it very clear saying a mandatory requirement. And then by Section 24 of the Public Elections Act, it say one of them, you can show one of them the NIN, you can show birth certificate, you can show, or somebody can identify yourself for make you for register. But then we get problem with Section 13 where say the NIN is a mandatory requirement for voter registration. And by Section 25 of the bill, it say if the person where they register you not satisfy, say you meet the requirement, you know they register you. So what if you go ask you for NIN, and perhaps you know even may register under the NCRA for one reason or the other? We all know the challenges that may happen under the NCRA process. So what do they say now? Yeah? It's not necessarily a bad thing to introduce it, but then why introduce it now when people have already the process of NCRA? One, it's challenging at the time, and many people have been ostracized, and we don't know if they go open her back, and then they make the learner forget retrospective effect for look back. That's the point. So what somebody appear tomorrow for register, then perhaps may take part in the NCRA, and then they ask her for NIN, get NIN. That will create confusion if you want to stop them. So that is the risk. And then they say also why you want to bring an NCRA process to NEC process. These are two separate bodies. The body where the Constitution give power for conduct registration process for voter registration for election, NEC, not to NCRA. So if you want to bring NCRA process into NEC process, you get to be very careful, because you're trying to also go to a constitutional issue, because voter registration are primarily the purview of the ECSL, that's what they call it now, formerly NEC. All right, so we're concerned with that. Then the second thing where we also concerned with, I'll go very fast. Now the issue of extending, so under this bill, the NEC commissioner get power for extend voter registration by even after the close of voter registration. So anytime you can just decide after we don't close registration, but say okay, I'm not satisfied with this area, how they register or the number, low open a back for them. You create a problem. You see now, it's a dangerous thing you're trying to do. Now you make what they say, tomorrow, if you don't tear past, then go use them tomorrow and create problem in this country. If you don't give a period, it's a very long period, I think a month or so. Who meet up that registration day? That's it. If you really believe say you want to vote, you go make time for go through the registration process. You don't have it. You're making a sense for open a back for somebody or some particular community when they register. So that is also an issue.
In as much as standing a part of the concerns them way legal link get for sake of this 2022 public elections. You can add on other concerns them. But from where this issue of public elections bill come, the popular discussion where people under this concern with gets for do it. The PR system where Andrew begin talk about earlier.
Yes.
We don't hear this as rumor before finally now it go as official documents na parliament.
Yes.
For say this coming election, if this bill passed, now one panitin and they say Salone will go back to the proportional representation system.
Yes.
As compared to this one we do now when I first pass the post.
Yes.
For legal link, if this particular thing we will talk about, say we go back to the proportional representation system, you think say it workable at this time, especially we take into consideration public education for people who don't know how this particular system they work?
Yes, so that is a good question. I was going to come there, but are they still take small time for talk one or two things in Candy? I'm not saying at the main time for this discussion now. Other thing we're also critical in this proposal now that the next commissioner will get power for council elections on the council of violence. Remember, this is a thing we don't happen and we don't talk say there is no law. And now they want to pass this law, which will say first of all we may write at the time. Now, would they say why you want to pass a law for let you appeal like we say the commission for council election on violence? You will create more room for people to be violent if you do that than they. Now, let's move to this issue of PR system. Clearly, this is not a national issue. I make also we are concerned with this bill because they want to also puts this constitutional issue into a bill that they back wrong. Now, that's not the section we talk about this whole thing. Under section 38. No, let the people in and see what section 38 they say regarding constituency, first past the post, and PR system. So that to the constitution direct and not collect for means me words. Make her tell the public what exactly the constitution they say regarding this matter. Section 38.1. When I be a mila open day and make her read them for the public. 38.1. Now 38.1. What it is say?
All right.
38.1 they say. Just a minute. I don't see them. 38.1 they say. 38.1 they say. Okay, yes, here we go. 38.1. Sierra Leone shall be divided into such constituencies for the purpose of electing members of parliament. All right, refer to section 74 of this constitution as the Electoral Commission acting with the approval of parliament signified by resolution of parliament may prescribe. Every constituency established under this section shall return one member of parliament. So this is not a constitutional provision. Constituencies. First past the post. Now, under President Kaba, during the war situation, then do a constitutional amendment where then introduce the PR system because some areas are not be accessible. So the PR system always don't exist as a default. The rule na constituency first past the post. The PR system na a default. When situations happen where constituency no exist or accessibility to places no exist, then they can invoke them. So this is the debate. So it gets in merit, it gets in demerit. But what would the moment for look at first and the procedure? If this is not a constitutional issue, let's address it through a constitutional process, not through a legislative bill. Because the constitution make it clear waiting for be the rule. Now, if we're going to the exception, you have to justify it. Come to constitutional instruments, all right? You can carry with the 2001 amendment, but then remember, say, that period we don't elapse, and we have moved on to other elections that will happen. We go back to the rule. So now, if you want to go back to the exception, come with the case to an instrument and say, and make the case. Okay. That's what we are saying. Then you show why it's important and necessary at this time for let the country go to a PR system. Not for feds in a parliament. Not for do and fine. And call we have to give a pass, and Lord will argue on this one, and Lord will show reason. But about give a strong reason as to why it take we to PR system. There was a war situation. People say we don't accessible at all. That's why, and everybody buy them. They are approved in the parliament. They had a 2/3 majority because it makes sense to the people of Sierra Leone at the time. Right. Does it make sense now? You have to convince us as well. Don't fight through. Convince the nation through a constitutional instrument. Let we debate this and let we see if we want for good or not for good.
All right, Lawyer Rashid, continue for the week in the program. They come to you now, Andrew. The issue of the PR system. Now, one way don't get so many conversation. Everybody gets in your own views and opinion. We can pan this. Now, let's try for sound the opinion of IGR on this particular issue. Another school of thoughts, they say yes, the country we don't try the PR system during the term of late President Kaba of blessed memories, but certainly the country just come up and war. Not be able for do census, forget constituency and ward stem. But now Salone gets data, statistics Salone just conduct the midterm housing and population census, constituency, then they don't do about the delimitation. You think say it timely for we go back into the PR system?
My position is not really for take a position on PR versus non-PR, but like I would say, we need for guide citizens if a country they go into a constitutional reform process, whose position waiting will be in your best interest. But I just want to respond a little bit to Lawyer Rashid. I don't know if Lawyer Rashid knows say there is a constitutional amendment bill. If there is a constitutional amendment, there is a constitutional amendment bill.
Okay.
Yes, way to go with this process. So I think say some of those concerns were then really legitimate. I don't know how much they are integrated into the constitutional amendment bill. So you see, before they come to the PR, if finally we note elections will happen before the war under Stevens, for example, if you see 4 elections, Jimmy Kande writes extensively on that, will be the butcher we serve. Just like this same thing we don't turn back. You know, me not a lawyer, I'm not left for talk about legalese. I try for talk about how they improve with lives then. And at the critical juncture now is Salone Day. 20 years after the war, most of the young people will not get jobs. 20 years after the war, today, for less Sierra Leoneans, we agree on how they move forward. We can't. Tijan Kaba was not a perfect person. The system we've been there under him, it creates ways for them to accommodate one another. You know, say Salone, with a grip at all things. The only thing we know is grip at politics. So it find for a lot of fun way how politically how they accommodate with it. If you see the party then, now for that where we start just now I talk say where it they in political parties their interest then they agree. But where it they in citizens their interest, then they disagree. If you watch waiting at SLPP then strategy, SLPP feels say where they get 30-35% in areas we know they control. If we convert then numbers and they into seats, it will benefit we. APC they say no, in fact we can compete well where with the day all concentrate to vote. So for example, if you take C4C and NGC gets about 8% of the votes. C4C get 4%. C4C get 9 seats. NGC get 4 seats. C4C double NGC seats because it concentrate the votes. If you watch among them party here, let's just turn in a bit. If you watch in 2000 and in just the recent election, parliamentary elections, in 2018, parliamentary votes for SLPP was 964,000. For APC was 989,000. You see the difference was around 25,000. The difference in the number of seats was 20 seats. So there are many concerns around representation of women because under PR you can get modest representation of women. One day women may not get 30%, but you get modest representation of women under proportional representation. But you not get representation under first past the post. Women cannot compete under first past the post. If you talk about cohesion, the best opportunity we Sierra Leone get for is where we create a situation with the force and political party here. If one day in power, it is fine and difficult for do bad for region we need to consider in Union. Just some months ago, Moije Kaikai was one of the best competitors, former minister of APC, for Parliament chieftaincy election. Then do the first round, he was really on top. But just because at the time for let SLPP, then just wake up, say no, na Moije Kaikai APC minister and the canton chief na Pujon, in the count APC na ya. We they fail for real and when they swing literally overnight, he lost the seat.
So
Mabel, just one minute, Mabel. Let me just round up this point. If we get a situation who say na Bombali, na APC the SLPP did, na Bo APC the SLPP did. You go na parliament, somebody wear red, he say Boa, he say BCA. You go na parliament, somebody wear green, he say PR, he say second. You know what they mean? All communities then go hold a hand for benefit from both sides. The PR gets a lot of limitations. I don't know if Mabel has
So for IGR, this PR system, is they in the best interest of the people for IGR?
It gets, in terms of merit, it gets strong merit. Some people in the talk say independent in the contest. In fact, if you say independent,
so what's in IGR they talk?
We need to look at the merits and demerits of both sides and for let the people and take position, let Parliament take position on that.
So on the issue of the people and the loss connection, they're not able for all the member of parliament accountable on certain bills them we may be member of parliament and they pass where they're not too satisfied with, because with the PR system many people believe say the member of parliament go just answerable to them political party them because now then get for send their names them to the ECSL, not to the people then get for vote for them. Say me I the vote for Angola Valley in face as in a ballot box.
In fact, so PR na in downside that. PR in downside, now the party then they in control, whereas first past the post, The citizens, they not they only control whether they populate parliament, but they also determine whether they govern in a particular constituency. But let's situate in Sierra Leone, yeah? Inside Salone, we know they get much conversation between citizens and the elected representative. We they monitor parliament effectively. We just pulled the second scorecard yesterday. Too often, citizens, they want personalized benefits from MPs. In fact, a lot of MPs, and we all can agree, say, they don't even go to their constituency. For, say, that point we make about relationship. What we do the last Afrobarometer, 61% of citizens, they say, they want personalized benefit from the members of parliament. So the first past the post, that will have been in strength. And the strength is, if citizens, they elect the official, they're able to relate with them. It will work effectively in a parliament, and it will hold government to account. That was the implied faith in the first past the post. But we don't see, say, there is so much disillusionment of voters with democracy. Voters are so dissatisfied with democracy. 80% of members of parliament in the last election, 75% successive election of members of parliament don't go back. Because waiting to talk about it doesn't happen. So I think, say, Salone, we did more on the side of trying to solve what our problem is. Now we really sit down and discuss how we they manage we serve. All of them here where we talk about, it's more of theory than actually practically addressing the real needs with Salone.
But governments wants for reintroduce this PR system, and Yusuf just don't make mention of one of the downside of where my co-presenter just make mention of when the MP then go be answerable to the political party them directly, rather than where it right now when the constituents and they choose who that they want. If we don't see a situation wherein within the first past the post, now the constituents and the pick who that they want, it's not workable. They're supposed to be answerable to them people, but we don't see it don't they happen. So why coming with such bill we get issues of PR system where they want to reintroduce, where the constituents them they when are they supposed for they in charge of the electorate them, when are the members of parliament them. This one, if it happen at this time, the MP them not answerable to constituents them. How you think they go get for happen for Sierra Leone where political party then we all know how the politics they play in the country. How it go work?
There is a place for that. There's a reason why of all countries in Europe, sometimes just England and few other countries, now in the practice first past the post, the rest don't progress. So every society always see they look at waiting them a second best option. Salone in option right now will get now for let live together. Corruption they thrive where people and they hate themselves. So for example, for let somebody say, you know that team need them bad or them men did them bad, you know what that they mean? It means that person want for let you look bad so that you go benefit from a vote. So that's how corruption thrives. So we need for force political parties then for let them come up from one region strategy. The reason why we talk say under Tijan Kaba, every government get corruption, but when you watch Tijan Kaba administration, there was some semblance of accountability because we have inclusive institutions.
But Andrew, this PR system, now they take the power from the people and limit it to the political parties.
In many ways, it could.
So
in many ways, it could. And right now, what they say right now, political parties them now vehicles, citizens now vehicles the number for election. But as to whether citizens then they input into policy processes, sometimes past we working strong, you didn't radio democracy when are strong, now you can make down the risk. So we need to talk say first past the post PR not getting downside. But if you watch a situation where over the past 5 years, over the past 3 elections, we don't get about 44 by-elections. We'll look at the economics of them. That one is sufficient for let you almost get like a fund the way they do one election.
So Andrew, what you go say about the argument where they say a PR system can be only implied in a period of crisis? For example, like what happened in 2001 during the time where the country just come up by elections. Some certain side are not accessible, but now in this case, statistics alone through government don't spend lots of money, don't conduct census, then don't able for delimit some of the areas them into constituency and wards, and now government through the AG office they try for introduce a PR system.
You know, I know one for say we're in a crisis situation, but we're in a difficult situation.
Which is?
Because we don't get two censuses where both opposition at the time they existed, they condemn them. Right now, if they sit in the court boundaries, under the current data we start to get, it will massively disadvantage certain population. We all know how this census process go. So waiting Salone need now really now a second best option. People then get questioned by the 2015 data, just as people then get questioned on the 2021 data. So both APC and SLPP then get compromise. So sometimes they go talk say, let's use PR using 2017 or 2015 data. So that way you don't use APC statistics, you don't use SLPP, the proposed system. So that way, but if you do now, and we really advise, because yesterday I see on social media, NEC start Sierra Leone, then they say they want, would they really advise for the sake of peace, let will not do that. And their political parties then get compromised. Let them sit down, they talk, say, because to me, Khadija, would they say all what you make, you know, fine, let 98.1 go back to 25 years ago. If I know they talk now how they consolidate to democracy. If we don't reach a point where it's difficult for us to get along, the most important thing is how do we get along.
So with the reintroduction of this PR system, it will able to stop all them problems there way according
to... No. It don't go stop them. It will just minimize them because Sierra Leone need deeper reforms. The thing will happen to them, police them women, they will then demonstrate, where police then go arrest them. The thing will happen for let you arrest opposition leaders, you detain opposition leaders. We need deeper reforms where they make policemen not go do that. So just an electoral system alone not to solve the deeper problems they will get.
All right, continue for the program. And name na Andrew Lavalley, and in the executive director for the Institute for Governance Reform. Today in the program, we look at some of the issues them within inside the proposed 2022 public elections bill, within now in Parliament for the MP then go look inside and talk about some of the issues them within inside it.
Right, so we continue the program and come over to Rashid Doumbouya again from Legal Link. We don't listen to the perspective of IGR for Sika, the issue we get to do with the PR system. Well, the public might get their own view, but you didn't have the studio this morning and you come out from Legal Link. We still discuss the issue we get to do with the PR system inside this particular bill within our parliament now. Reintroducing the PR system at this time. Plenty of people get their own position on them. We don't make mention just now of the money already. We don't go to statistics along the young work and the way the system, the economic challenge where the country they face. Is it suitable at this time for reintroduce the PR system for Salone people? Let me in the interest.
Okay. This is a critical question. Where I don't done my analysis, I think the answer will be clear. Now, take me time for define first within a PR system and within a first past the post system. Let's start from there because this is the medium law used for educate people. So first past the post system, now way the voting method in which citizens then they in the constituency they cast their votes for a candidate, and the one way get the majority votes will win the election. Now in the PR, proportional representation. In an electoral system, citizens they cast their votes to the political parties, and the seats are allocated to the parties according to the voting strength when they possess. All right. So quickly, may I look one strength, perhaps of the PR system, and then I'll go to in downside, and I'll also look at the first past the post, and then I will make my conclusion right there. So in the first past the post system, of course, now one candidate to get elected. Under PR. More than one candidate will be likely elected in a constituency. Now, in the first past the post system, the citizens they cast their vote for a candidate of their choice. And in contrast, of course, under the PR, you know that the party they decide. So the people get connection with the candidate. So the number of seats we go, now the party go determine and who go get them. So like rightly, my brother said, agree. This is the biggest downside of the PR system, and we make many people afraid. So you see, progressive countries like the US, UK, Canada, India, they all agree with the first past the post system because you want for it help for engender and solidify democracy. Democracy is one about the people. The people and for their for supreme. You count any process where the people and the taking off, you will likely undermine, the effectiveness of democracy, because you want to see people get this say. Now we forget the say, and we forget the power for determine who that for go represent we, and you make them become more participatory. If you put a system which the party that they determine, and the people and they substitute, you go undermine, without knowing the participation in the process. And I think the biggest obstacle, apart from the fact say the PR system, they take away people and put party above people, and also of course not ensure proper accountability by the people of the representatives. The biggest challenge of the PR system is that we constitution already don't tell we the rule for Fala. 38-1 say now first past the post constituency. So that's the biggest obstacle. We tried for amend them in 2001 when we get a crisis situation. So the default situation now PR. The rule now first past the post constituency. That is to me the biggest obstacle of this whole thing. So for go back to PR, let we do and fine. We can count an instrument, make this debate, constitutional instrument, we talk and back, we convince everybody as to why we think say we want for going to this. Let we not hide and seek game and then pass through one kind of route we're not correct. Not use the right route and then let we debate.
As a lawyer,
yes.
you only talk about procedures, the right way for channel, some of them constitutional instruments there. So, but again, when they talk about this PR system, the most popular argument we don't come out so far. Now the one we get for do with national cohesion, the one get for do with political party stronghold. If the PR system come, it will break them. Where I believe say safe and will get that same views. They say it will give opportunity to APC for get a representative from a particular side where SLPP go fi say now their stronghold. National cohesion, it will bring everybody together. You agree with that view there?
Yeah, so on the face of it will appear like saying a view convincing, but when you look at the underlying rhetorics on that argument there, you will find out say it's not really about a system to be introduced that can break that stronghold loyalty. To me, the leadership, the policies, the way they lead, trust me, you will convince. If you are a president, and I've always said this, it's easy if APC president can have power, you want for breakthrough Southeast, please concentrate and prioritize Southeast people. Do well for them. You dey break them. If you want for break North and Western area as an SLP president, help for do things for promote the interest of North and Western area. That is more sustainable a way of breaking this stronghold than introducing systems that way perhaps not go really touch on the real issues. So we know what for let we use them system therefore make the argument. Let we rule well, let we do the right things, then let we take all man on board. Then we go break down the strongholds. To me not the sustainable way for break strongholds. Serve the people and do the right things and please the people by taking development there. Their minds they go change. They will say no, this party they seek with interest. That's exactly to me the sustainable way.
I don't ask you about the area we get for do with national cohesion.
Yes.
Now let's flip the question to another angle. We get for do with democracy, good governance.
Yes.
Salone, one of the country them where they try for practice good democracy and push reforms them we get for do with governance. And for let them they be achievable, you therefore give the power to the people.
Yes.
We get for do with this voting pattern where Salone they practice now. So the people and go pick who that they want for let them represent them.
Yes.
But with the PR system, they give back the power to the political party them and take them away from the people.
Yes.
In terms of democracy, you think say this appropriate?
So the question is why you think say progressive nation they choose the first past the post? That's the question, because they know say the people are the center of everything. So what if you do as a person want to vie for parliamentary seats, go convince the people with policies, make them see say yes, you get something where go make their life meaningful. The people should be at the center. Now the biggest downside of PR system, the party they take control, and we know what it will mean. There will be people in fact when the people want, because the party perhaps get issue with that person there, the people are not ever able to get that kind of candidacy. And a lot of corruption go also inside the system. So you see PR system also get corruption because people go they bribe their way for them at the good books of the party. So let we not also downplay some of them things, there are dangers there we also they are the PR system. So let me say if they call for papers, Parliament will be humble at this time. Let them wait and call for expert opinions. We're ready for right to them, and let we change their minds more for see the pros and the cons on the two system there. Let the public be engaged. CSOs, the bar association, let them give expert views. The politics don't bokuna parliament, but then they deprive we get the expertise for talk on the issue there. Because also PR system be exposed to corruption. People they bribe their way to the party executive for men and get the ticket for go represent, and not necessarily will be the people them choice. So let's don't take the people away from the process. And the constitution, remember, sets the first party post as the rule and PR as the exception. Let's not forget that.
It's been at the studio. Rashid Dumbuya from Legal Link. We also get Anula Valley from IGR.
All right, we continue with the program. Good morning, Salone, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy, 98.1 FM. When they come back in our studio, as we still get Anula Valley, we're now the Executive Director for the Institute for Governance Reform, and lawyer Rashid Dumbuya, we himself now Executive Director on a Legal Link. Also, they give them two different views them we then get for SECA, the proposed 2022 public elections bill within our parliament. We don't talk about issues them where they inside this bill, and earlier they talk about the PR system. I'll come back to you, Mr. Lavallee. We see on Tuesday where member of parliament and they meet for start the proceedings on this particular proposed bill where they before them now. So many issues them they happen inside that sitting day, and member there from the main opposition be they get some issues they will get for those procedure. And yesterday again we host one member where it clearly shows that them party not ready for this particular PR system and they're ready for resist them. And member of the SLPP then say they want time and a fine for them. Disagreements there between the then two parties so far during the conversation. At this point, waiting you feel say the member of parliament then for put before them personal interest or that of the country?
For politicians, it's all about 2023. For me and you too, it's really about welfare. You see, the PR system undergo extensive consultations under the constitutional review process. The consultations we then do, I think, Rashid, I think it's something for take note of. So the CRC, that's why it was even reflected in the CRC report. But Khadija, SLPP APC then get position. But if you and Mabel want now for be member of parliament as woman them, under the current circumstance, it's difficult. If we not take time, if care is not taken, in this election where they come, with all the dilly-dally where they get fewer and fewer women there. So when people they talk say we want for law get proportional representation, it's not about waiting the favor of any party, but how do we make sure we get a system where inclusive? How do we make sure if they say, let's say women they want 30%. So if we start Kailan 1, seat 1, now woman they get her. Seats 2 and 3, man get her. Seats 4, now woman they get her. 5 and 6, man get her. Or then we'll get any kind of system within. So we need, the most important thing we will need now for abolish what would they call this one region strategy. The one, Rashid, when they talk about PR condoning corruption, of course, under first past the post, people in the bribe for get symbols. In fact, the theory was safe. The way where you the economics of elections, because the cost of election really big, like for example, for let you get symbol, the amount of people and delegates safe where they go bribe, forget about party executive, the amount of delegates and safe where they go bribe, say you for let you get to nomination level, it really big. So when you watch the cost of election, what would they try for do na Salone? How do we make elections affordable? If we compare ourselves to place like America, to place like England, we say institutions don't strong. We say for managed competitive party politics, we not reach that stage there yet. The stage where they right now, for let we learn how to accommodate one another and agree on how we solve the problems. Unfortunately, we not reach that stage there yet. We can get all the advantages about the first past the post, about it being people-centered, but between me and you two, it's in theory. how many people and really they come where their voice really matter in electoral and political processes?
So Andrew, the whole bill itself, parliaments for continue for look at them or need they for take them back to the public and do more public education. And the reason why I ask for your response on this, because apart from the PR system where they inside this bill, waiting we learn again that this same bill, thing them the way they want for change, where for example, political party will and send polling agents in a election, not for send again, but not neck for taking people them we're supposed to monitor the election. Threshold again for small political parties them way for contest elections. For IGR, I think say more public education is needed on this bill before Parliament continue the debate.
Definitely, there is need for public education on any legal process, especially the one as important as this one. You talk about, for example, threshold for smaller parties. Which, if you say they go to England, for example, then get what they call fringe parties. By fringe party, they mean somebody will just can't hang a day. Not a party where they really compete. So now make in England, your candidature fee can be refunded if you get a certain threshold of votes. Say for example, if you get 5% of the votes, you don't pay candidature fee, you get them. It refund back. So we get a situation where between SLPP and APC, you have political parties them, and I don't mean for disrespect anybody, then Dana Appa, we they see them they sell campaign slots. So you they see say for form political party it be way for drag. You know they make with democracy serious. So where the constitution they suggest, how do we deal with fringe parties? It's important, but I take your point as to whether we need to get consultation and we actually need them. If at all we don't get a process where we don't introduce a bill and a lot of people they don't know within the content of the bill, we need for go into information overdrive.
So you institutional one way you say already get civil society already get desk na parliament. Don't ever like from one be done the about this bill discuss with parliament itself or say this before now they can begin debate and stuff. Take them back, let the public know the content of this bill, because I just imagine, for example, that section where they say they talk about polling agents them way political party they not for the Senate election but next for 10 people them. If then kind issues and they inside bill way like so long on a parliament, if not a way sometimes the media been raise them up, parliamentarians and just go debate and decide whether or not they want for
party agents or like, just neck polling agent.
The political party they can send people agents and for go observe the election for them.
Mm-hmm.
This same bill they talk about sideway political party they not go for the send again. People them for go watch, but next go for again people them when then they monitor the election. Una civil society gets desk na parliament. My question is, from when I begin hearing about the 2022 public elections bill, una don't engage parliament for let them come back to the people them before they even been take decision for
no, with the issue report today on one PR, so we do quite a lot of public engagement as to whether we don't hold discussion with parliament. We haven't done that, but it would be strange for let's say if the bill they suggest say political parties they not forget representation in polling. I mean, I think it would be strange for let it be say that's what is written in the bill. So I don't know, because
you don't see this bill at all they talk about.
I don't see them.
You don't see that particular side in the bill.
That's not how it's worded.
All right. Law come to you, Lawyer Rashid. Legal Link now they don't write an open letter to the speaker for put and hold on the proceedings. We see Usaiden start on Tuesday, but it not be successful based on some procedural issues. Them with the two leader, the leader of government business and that of the opposition, going to serious arguments, and the speaker being ruled say then they sit back on this particular bill on Tuesday, and it's either them pass them or them pull her out of parliament. And una they call now for let the speaker put on hold on these proceedings. Waiting next for legal link now where the speaker will say Tuesday when they go back na parliament, it's either them pass them or them pull out of parliament.
Good. Thank you. My brother Lavali they ask him for this on the bill. I see the struggle a little, and I think this is not the concern where I get with many CSOs. Do they appeal to CSOs? If we say we as civil society organizations, let us spend time for the read within Parliament, they do the law them. Because many of you, they say things that now we don't understand, we never even read the law. So there are many things we don't see. We don't take time, and we are the only CSOs that we don't write to Parliament and cite some things them currently. And I trust God say by before Tuesday, we will do a comprehensive analysis of all the key things that we in our building for show the public, so that all man will see and let we know. Because it's unfortunate now when we brought ourselves not clear on some of the position they were inside this bill as a CSO. No, so let make I go further. Now on the PI system,
I've read the bill not once, not twice, my brother.
I think there's just a minute.
No, just point of
yes, just a minute. So it very clear say people don't understand this bill, and it is show clearly. Now this bill gets dangerous provisions. Then we're not good for we body politic and democracy and even electional process. So we not for hide this. So I don't point to now the constitutional issues them we will be taken off and come by constitutional instrument. I don't show in some few other provisions them we also controversial at the bill. Now on the PR system, I know they say the first past this post not get corruption. I hope somebody will get me correct here. But now the unique thing about first past the post, if corruption did it and they deprive some candidate, you they get room for go stand as independent candidate. And we saw it in many, in the elections that will happen. We get independent candidates.
What in the PR system go do?
That's the point, because now the party they decide. They give power to the party.
So about the independent candidates?
It will deprive them. That's the point we're saying. So we're saying here, first past the post, beautiful. Because today we see we get independence in the parliament. Not also, we get independent day. And then people in there, I'm sure they had their problems with their parties and say, okay, you know what? I'll go to face the people. So if they will not get an opportunity, how will they face the people and the people decide when the party decides ultimately who will go to take the vote? So this is the point we are saying. Let we think twice, not to emotion on this. Now we think will benefit Sierra Leone. And besides, we are not in a wartime situation. The board are not seen to be clear on Monday. But me no say Sierra Leone peaceful. All right? At the moment, yes. That is how it is. That is not to say we not get one or two, as you said, incidents then, but generally it's a peaceful nation. And we are going ahead and we are enjoying the peace relatively. Now, the point where I make now is that they go to the default when NTR happen. It's clear. But if they really happen, then we go to the rule. And the rule that 8.1 show clearly we say we forgo. If you want change them, then let's do the right process. That's what we are saying. And allow honorable debate them. So we just say Parliament, the right thing for do at this moment, now for make we get time for let we get experts papers. The CSOs, the bar association, other experts, the human rights defenders, therefore give papers on this issue, women groups, disabled community, because they all votes, on the edge. So they are going to participate in this process, and will go to somebody's surface and begin seeing here, so they affect them. So let them get a say in this process, and let we do it openly for the good of the country, and not lay a bad precedent tomorrow. We will come back and hunt everyone.
So Lagashi, Tuesday, MPs and they go back in Parliament and looking at pattern of things them where don't they happen in Parliament, especially send them for critical bills them. They see usai the MP them go fet, police then go inside Parliament, the opposition MP then go walk out, and the other MP they okay left. Use their own way them and pass certain of them critical bills there. So it happened during the time for the census, it happened during the time for the speaker election. If same thing like this happen on Tuesday for this particular proposed 2022 Public Elections Act, within the country stand for gain in terms of democracy.
Yes, so it's going to be a dangerous precedent, I'll argue. So if any government, and I'm saying this today, let them get me on the record, if any government, APC, SNLP, PNGC, feels say therefore go to the constitution and bogam, let them know say posterity will hold them to account one day. And they will be in the books of this nation as a government where we put with BN, and we go stand with the people of Sierra Leone for take that government to task. That is the call. Because it is wrong. The constitution are the ground norm. If you want to change them, there is a laid down procedure. You can't forget the two-thirds majority, and I vote here for happen, for counter. Not a yeah or no. No, if for counter, forget to that day. As it stands now, nobody will get two-thirds in our parliament without a compromise by the other parties. That is clear. So we are calling on the government for do the right thing, convince more, engage more, consult more. No left the fet. What's happening in parliament? I mean, a disgrace. We will come up. We really We really they vex. Every day they vex from the country. Say, waiting they happen so at the shame. For let we see parliament people, they kind of parliament can be cost parliamentarians then. You don't do that. That is not an intent of any parliamentarian. Get them outside of the well. You go there to be seen and not to be heard. You are stranger. That's what their law says. They are strangers. So if they disrupt the process, get them out of the well and let the process be done and the sanctity of parliament be maintained. You don't encourage people who are causing problem in parliament and then we think it's fun. It's not fun. Invite CSOs that are more responsible. Invite experts that will go sit down and contribute to the debate in a much more meaningful way for the progress of we nation. Tomorrow, government they change, then transient. But let me do things we go left a legacy we all will be proud of going forward. That is the call. And I pray they listen to this voice today and let's do the right thing for the peace and security of we nation.
Okay, many thanks to you, Rashid Dumbuya from Legal Link. I come over to Andrew Lavalier to the wrap up the program. We already the call we Legal Link they make to Parliament for ensure say them pause the process and come back for the more education around the whole issue. I ask the same question to you. If Tuesday we see members of Parliament go na the well and debate this bill and finally agree for them, what it go mean to the country democracy?
Just wrap up. I mean, Rashid don't throw quite a lot of things there. I know the question very important. Just independence they can contest on the PR. In fact, if PR not able to accommodate the problem of a society, let me finish.
Too close to your heart.
Let me
in favor of
let me finish. We have two-party system, not a multi-party we get. All waiting they happen at Parliament, now the party then strategy they play.
So
me and you two, listen to me. Me and you two, for they in position for let us see what is in the best interest of Sierra Leone. I like waiting Rashid they talk about procedures. How do we ensure that procedures are followed? When you watch the PR, you get different variants. You get party list system. Now one no more implement a Salone. You get different variants that okay look at.
So you want them?
So me no want. Mabel, if you don't want to go to Parliament, there are many other women who want to go to Parliament. This system does not cater.
So you want the system?
Definitely. If you don't want to go to let me finish, Mabel. I know you want to ask questions, but there are many people who want to get me information. If you don't want to go to Parliament, there are many women, our sisters and our mothers and our aunties that want to go to Parliament with the educator. So if we want to minimize the cost of election, every day with the kill for by election, we actually need to see which system they accommodate with. If we want for them in the situation, we say we get one region strategy. So we need for mix out east and northwest.
So it's all the issues inside this bill. If Parliament passes,
all of the issues have to be addressed before it is passed. All of the issues. All of those issues should be addressed. But at the same time, we need to look at waiting society.
And they say therefore address all the issues then. The question will be asked Lawyer Rashid that Tuesday MP then they go back na Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
What if issues them arise and at the end of the day Parliament pass this proposed bill on Tuesday without addressing all of these issues? Waiting the country stand for
Khadija, the challenge Salone get is bigger than proportional representation versus forced. I don't tell you just no. We get two censuses where a lot of citizens then this is the contest. Unfortunately, we not get people in today where they say, no, if they rogue Freetown, it should matter to me. If they rogue Kenima per census, it should matter to me. On both sides, we know they get down there. Rashid, I believe say we need for the make clear people and come to the center where they say anything they affect Bo for affect Salone, anything they affect Bo Mali, it should matter to politicians.
Right.
And we need for push politicians therefore accept that ground norm.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Many thanks, gentlemen. When I joined the program this morning, we been get Rashid Dumbuya from Legal Link and Lola Valley from IGR. We discussed for the 2022 public elections bill waiting at Parliament now. And at the end of the day, the two civil society representatives then we will get at the studio. They call on Parliament for ensure they address the concerns and we don't come for sake of the thing them wait inside this bill before they go agree for them, whether or not they go agree for them. Well, now this edition of the program, Good Morning Salone Golefona. Plenty thank you to the production team. Michael Sambola and Alex Lawrence Kuruma produce the program. DJ Lava give you technical support. Moses Kavra and Joseph Sunga make us see on Facebook. Until then, Mabel Kabadi say goodbye.
And Mina Khadija Bangura, the wishing all a lovely day.